and we always hear of situations happening like this outside of our area, in other parts of the country. So to have it happen in this small community where everybody knows everyone, where it's very tight knit, it's very telling. Seth also said, being a student here at the high school a few years ago, he knows the climate and the culture inside the building. He says, since the student body is so small, people, know when people are acting differently, or there's maybe a shift in someone's behavior. And he says, unfortunately, he feels that may have been the case here today.
Yeah. A lot of the people that we've talked to today were what we would consider maybe the lucky ones in this situation.
Absolutely.
There's still an unknown number of gunshot victims. We learned that from Dallas County Sheriff Adam Infante just about an hour ago during that press conference. We also know now through the Associated Press that the shooter is dead. They have also confirmed that an administrator was one of the gunshot victims. That was a rumor that we had been hearing a lot ever since this news broke just after 7:30. Of course, we wanted to confirm that with the right sources before we brought you that news here on KCCI, and we're going to continue to do that throughout the day.
Oh, and Jody, we know that you have both been on scene there for now a couple of hours. The response in the minutes following this was dramatic. Officers and response coming from all over. At the same time, it is significantly different scene there now than it was when you first showed up. Talk to us about what is actually actively happening behind and around you. What have you seen play out in, say, the last 15 minutes or a half hour?
I can tell you this, Eric, that we have been able to move our cameras a bit closer to the scene as police cars and units have totally spread out throughout the area. So traffic is back open here on the main drag of Willis. So that is much different than it was a few hours ago. The police presence closer to the school has drastically improved. There are fewer cars there. There is still a small barricade in place and a few officers still standing by. But really now I see about 3 police cars with their lights flashing. Earlier it was a sea.
It was much different than it is right now. Like you said, a sea of red and blue lights on top of the cars. Even on our way into town, some roads were blocked off from Highway 141 there on the east side of town. They redirected us to take a different turnoff from the highway to get to where we needed to be. But yes, law enforcement has definitely moved closer to the school, and in some cases
moved out of the area.
Yeah, moved out of the area, dispersed.
You guys have been on the scene there for a while talking to people. We'll count on you to do that for quite some time there in Perry, where it's now been 3.5 hours now since that shooting took place. A lot of stuff coming in and a lot of stuff floating around Central Iowa.
And that is the power of social media and how easily information can spread now. So we have been inundated with information. Likely you have seen it or have been told yourself. We want to be very clear. We find it very important that we confirm to you information that is coming through a reliable source. It has been vetted, and we want to honor the law enforcement procedure and protocol, things that they need to do, because we are talking about people's lives. We are talking about families who don't know about the victims or are finding out. You don't want to hear about it on the news. So there is the right way to go about this ethically. And that is why we are going to honor what law enforcement has asked in doing some things like identification, because it is important. And so here to tell you, we want to be very clear and get that information to you when we can. And the green light does come from law enforcement in a lot of ways, because the next of kin is important to them when they are getting them the information, and they want to be very clear. It is a very emotional time. People are hungry for more information, but we want to be safe and careful with people's feelings and emotions. Today is a day. It is going to hurt tomorrow. And for some of these families, that pain will never go away.
The reality is we've heard from several people, and we've talked to them, sharing their stories of people who have people who were in or around the high school, but they walked away from it.
Yes.
We know from Dallas County Sheriff Adam Infante that not everybody walked away from it. We know that there are people in the hospital. We know there are accusations going around, and we've heard them. We know what's going on in the community but they haven't been confirmed. And so as a result, we know at this time there are families that are celebrating, taking a deep breath of relief that their individual loved one is safe and at home and being treated. At the same time, we know that others aren't so lucky right now.
Yep. And we want to be so careful with that information. And to that point, just into our newsroom, Mercy One confirms it transported some patients from Perry to the hospital in downtown Des Moines via ambulance and helicopter. We do know all families have been unified. No other information about how these people are doing is being released at this time. That is official information from Mercy One.
That's right. It's now been about an hour and a half ago since we first heard the only official news conference from officers with the Division of Criminal Investigation with Dallas County Sheriff's Office. They continue their investigation, but it's been a while since we let you hear directly from Dallas County Sheriff Adam Infante. So let's let him tell the story of what he knew as of about 10 o'clock this morning.
My name is Sheriff Adam Infante, INFANTE. I'm the sheriff here in Dallas County. I'm joined by our state, local, and federal partners here at the Perry High School. This morning at approximately 7:37 a.m., we had a Sears radio activation at the high school, which indicated an active shooter situation. Our officer first arrived within 7 minutes of that activation and located multiple gunshot victims. We're still unclear of exactly how many are injured or what the extent of those are, but we're working on that right now. There is no further danger to the public. The community is safe. We're just now working backwards, trying to figure out everything that happened and make notifications. There'll be another update later on today. It's still very early. This happened at approximately 7:37 this morning. School didn't start yet, luckily. So there was very few students and faculty in the building, which I think contributed to a good outcome in that sense. But we'll have more information later on this afternoon. We will not be releasing any more information in the meantime. So please be patient with us so that we can talk with these victims and their families and try and figure out what happened. We won't be answering any questions today either, for right now. We'll let you know later on this afternoon, what time we'll be meeting back with you again, and we hope to provide more detail then.
So can we, just to be clear, you don't have a number of people who were injured in this?
We're still working on that.
Have you identified the shooter?
Yes.
What's their current status?
We'll get to that later on this afternoon.
Part of the shooter was a student at the school?
I can't confirm that right now.
Can you confirm any death?
Is there
No,
a
not right now.
reunification center for families and students right now?
Great point. The reunification center has already been established, and at most of those, I think all the kids have been reunified already. So we're good in that area. Thank you.
Were there any faculty members that were hurt?
I can't answer that question yet.
Have you made any apprehensions or arrests?
Can't answer that question yet either.
We'll take no further questions at this time. We'll see you this afternoon.
Sorry, just want to make sure.
I will let you know. We don't know.
Iowa Department of Public Safety will push out a message as far as location and time of the next press conference.
Okay.
So if you go to the Iowa Department of Public Safety website, it'll be posted there probably shortly after noon. I'm sorry.
Any surveillance video available?
There's nothing more that we're gonna be able to
thank you.
answer right now.
We'll
Thank
be
you.
back.
Those comments came from law enforcement just after 10 o'clock this morning, and we are waiting in the next couple of hours for the next update. But in a case like this, so much of the law enforcement effort is on finding the answers to the questions and then figuring out what and when to release information so that the community can feel appropriate and know what's going on. At the same time, there's going to be a case that needs to be put together down the road and try to answer all the questions, so they need to do it the right way.
No question. They're
Mhm.
looking for motive. They're
Mhm.
looking for why. These are all things that the investigation will hopefully reveal to us.
Mhm.
Alyssa Gomez was our first reporter on the scene. So she has seen the most tense of moments as response was in action and beginning early this morning. Now we're looking at you hours later with the caution tape now up as this phase is now enacted. Alyssa, what is the feeling now from where you're standing?
Alex, Eric, I just talked to a woman that lives in the building right directly across from the school here, and she said, like everybody else, they never thought the situation would happen right here in Perry, right across from her own home. The amazing thing is, I also talked to a woman, her niece Misty. They're already planning on helping the people that were impacted by the situation. Misty's already coming up with ideas on how do we give blood, how do we give food to these families, how do we come together as a community now. And to just see this quick turnaround from trauma into wanting to help the community, it's amazing to see that already. It's so sad that they have to think that way, but they're quick to the response. You can see behind me this caution tape here. This still is a scene that's being investigated. They're trying to bring us more details later this afternoon. Like I said earlier, we had national media coverage of this. A lot of people have come out to cover the caucuses that are happening in just a few weeks, but now the attention has turned to Perry. And of course, you know, we're still trying to figure out all of our details, but hopefully the community can come together, they can heal from this, and they can learn how to help those that were impacted by this tragic situation.
A tough situation, and that story that you mentioned there, Alyssa, emphasizes the fact that everybody in Perry is impacted here. Everybody knows either a police officer or knows somebody who works at the school, knows somebody who goes to the school, and as a result, the impact just includes the entire community, right?
Of course. And I mean, Misty was saying she doesn't have any family here now, but her sons graduated in 2016, Adam, and he's reaching out to people, is making sure that everybody's okay. She's had family reach out to her, even though her sons aren't in the school anymore, to make sure they're okay. We keep hearing stories of people just coming together, trying to contact their loved ones, trying to contact people that maybe are just even a friend of a friend, to make sure that they're all right in this situation. And I think if there's any silver lining to this, it's that the community here is strong and they're going to come together to help one another.
Because we know, we've heard some of those stories of people who are reunited, and we know that there are other community members who have not been reunited or are in the hospital or something along those lines. And so it is a tough situation, Alyssa. We appreciate, we know you've been there for many hours, and we'll continue to check in with you there in Perry.
And that is the fabric of these communities throughout central Iowa. They are close. And therefore they are resilient because they know how to lean on one another. And we look to our state leaders in times like this as well. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley posted on X saying, "Today's appalling violence at Perry High School is heartbreaking. Barbara and I are grateful for quick response by school officials and law enforcement to protect students and restore safety. The Perry community is strong and will band together through hard times. I am here to help if additional federal resources are needed."
We've heard that the White House is involved. We've also heard that we know that Perry is in Iowa's 3rd congressional district, and Iowa Representative Zach Nunn, who represents that area, says, quote, "As a parent and community member, I'm beyond angry. My heart is with the community of Perry." Zach Nunn writes, "We have a duty," he says, "to protect our children, families, and educators." He says, "I will remain in touch with first responders and local leaders there in Perry, and I'll continue to monitor the situation closely. We will not rest until there's full accountability for this heinous acts of violence." We've heard from response from our lawmakers. We've heard from response from national advocacy organizations. We've heard response from a whole bunch of people, but across the board, whatever it is just focusing on Perry, what they're going through. We know that later tonight, they're trying to get together a prayer vigil at 7 o'clock at one of the churches there in town, because it's going to be a while before just the shock wears off, let alone what happens next and going back into the school eventually and getting back to what will eventually be routine, but this will take a while.
This has shaken the community, no doubt. And they do have school closed tomorrow. They are providing counseling services from early in the morning, I believe 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, for anyone who needs to talk. Those counseling services will be provided Friday and Saturday as they reel and continue to process what has happened and the tragedy here today.
We have multiple crews on the ground there in Perry, but we've also been checking in on and off with Marcus McIntosh, who has been in the metro area and has been watching as some of that medical response has landed here in Des Moines. Marcus, we know that you've been talking with Unity Point. What have they told you about their response?
Well, we do have an update at this point. I remember earlier they confirmed that 2 people came from Perry, but now another ambulance came in within the last 5 minutes or so, bringing another victim from the Perry situation. I'm going to get out of the way so you can kind of see what's going on. There's not a whole lot of activity here, but there are people going in and out of the ambulance entrance bays here at the emergency room at Unity Point, Iowa, Des Moines. And what we've seen this morning, we've seen Des Moines police officers here. We've seen a number of ambulances come through. At least 3 have come through from the Perry situation of what went on there. And what we're being told, 2 victims now, at least 3 victims from the Perry situation, Perry shooting, are here at Iowa, at Unity Point Medical Center, Iowa. And that's what's going on right now. And also, just about an hour or two ago, maybe an hour, 15 hours, 10 hour and 20 minutes ago, we saw a group of people walking into the building. They were escorted around by a member of the communication staff here. So one person had on a sweatshirt with a blue jay signifying Perry High School or Perry Elementary School or the Perry School District. I don't know exactly who they are, but I can only guess or surmise that it was either someone connected to the school, someone administration at some point, or maybe even some parents or friends or family of one of the victims who is here right now. So we're going to keep following that and keep you up to date on any information we get. We're supposed to get an update right before noon, so we'll have an update on whatever's going on here and whatever is expected to happen throughout the end of the day. We're live. I'm Marcus McIntosh. Let's go back to Eric and Alex in the studio.
You being there, Marcus, because we know at about 7:45 this morning, we started getting those calls and seeing on traffic cameras the massive response. You couldn't miss it. Right. If you were in rush hour traffic on the northwest side of the metro, we heard from people up on 3580, folks over on I-35 who couldn't help but notice these squad cars screaming out of the metro to the northwest, knowing something was going on, and it had to do with the planning and the law enforcement helping each other from communities like Urbandale and Johnston and West Des Moines, all being on alert. And when they were called on, they acted quickly, and that including helicopters from the hospitals, as well as ambulances who've been rolling in where Marcus was over at Unity Point.
People writing in, working from home in West Des Moines, saying, I knew something bad was happening because I could hear it.
Yep.
And that's West Des Moines, more than 30 miles from Perry, because of the response and the hospital system that we have in Des Moines, where these victims have been taken, now up to 3, just where Marcus has been. And we know that they've been transported by ambulance and helicopter. And we saw those helicopters live on our air as we brought it to you after 8 o'clock this morning. So we have been on the air for several hours. We've seen this evolve and this situation evolve over time, and the feelings have too. It is settling. There is some relief because answers are starting to form and more information is coming to light. But then there's the next chapter. There's the next phase in the investigation. Right. We know that area is still being blocked off. The roads are blocked off around Perry High School, which is attached to the middle school. It is inside the high school where the shooting happened. We do know that an administrator was hurt and that the shooter, the suspected shooter, is dead after a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That is information that we have been able to confirm for you, and we feel comfortable passing that along. Yep. So here is an aerial view of that campus. So Perry High School is connected to the middle school. It is a large campus area there, but we're talking about how small and tight this community is. The high school, just 573 students is the latest enrollment number I can find online. So not huge. These students know each other.
That's right. AP, like I said, we know that there's a lot of information that is out there. We know that there are rumors about what's going on, but we do know now, according to the Associated Press, police say multiple people shot in the city's high school in Perry on Thursday, the students' first day back in classes after their winter break. The suspect, AP reports, in the shooting has died of what investigators believe is a self-inflicted gunshot wound, law enforcement officials told the Associated Press. The official was not authorized to publicly talk about the details, spoke on the condition of anonymity. The shooting happened in the backdrop of the Iowa caucuses, not far from where presidential campaigns are campaigning, the candidates out there. But again, this all unfolded at 7:37 there. Perry is a community in the northern part of Dallas County, right along Highway 141. These live pictures come from a scene that is much quieter now than it was even an hour ago, as the investigators are inside the building working on the hows and whys, and not so much about the immediate danger, because as they told us, the danger has now passed. But as a result, the ripple effects of these kids that are home now from school after what right now would have been their lunch break, and they expected to be sitting in the cafeteria talking about what they got for Christmas and where they were on New Year's Eve, recounting all those stories and sharing the stories of sleeping in late and staying up late and things like that. Instead, they're home from a situation that unfolded just 10 minutes before classes started on this first day after winter break. And it's a tough noon hour in Perry.
That's a powerful point, because reuniting with your friends after being away for a couple of weeks, the joy and excitement you feel getting back to school, a place you should feel safe. And a community that you feel a part of. And so very, very jarring and a harsh contrast to what some of those students were met with and those administrators and faculty when they were in school today. This happened at 7:37 this morning. We're hearing from parents trying to relay the perspective of their students. We want to listen to a stepmom now and her account of what all unfolded.
What happened here?
I just know he got grazed by a bullet. That's all I know. I just found out. I didn't know.
Is this your son?
No, it's my stepson, basically.
Your stepson? Okay. Did he show you the wound?
He did. He just showed it to me. I just saw it, and it started bleeding again, and we just want to get him checked out.
Okay. And you must be. This is a nightmare, right?
It is absolutely a nightmare. This is absolutely horrible. I'm sorry. I'm just really upset.
That's okay. I'm gonna leave you alone. Okay. Can I just get your name?
My name is Jody.
Okay. Can you spell it for me really quick?
Jody.
And what's your last name?
Kurth. Kurth.
Okay. Okay. And I hope he gets better. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All of your people are okay.
Well, he's one is getting checked out right now.
So scary, you guys.
Well, no,
so scary.
after I don't even know the whole story yet, but I just know after things had stopped, cooled down, his dad came and got him, and they were able to leave.
What was it like?
Actually, it was a text message this morning from my daughter, and it was absolutely horrifying. Like, that's one of the worst moments of my entire life, but the best phone call I got was saying that they were okay. I'm glad that they're okay.
Did any of his other friends get hit?
I honestly don't know. The shooter was actually the older one, is a classmate of his.
Oh, so there's a student
Yeah.
that is gunless.
I actually haven't even asked. I just know that the kid posted on TikTok about it with the bag. And it was in the bathroom, I believe, here this morning.
Bag in the bathroom.
Yeah. I don't even know the kid's name, but yeah, he's there.
Where did he get hit? Where in the school did he get hit?
He said he was in the lunchroom.
Just sitting? Was he just sitting there or just standing?
I'm not sure. I think he was just standing there.
It happened before school. Is it common for the students to kind of hang out before class?
Yeah, they hang out in the lunchroom a little bit before class usually starts, just to, get ready for the day like we all do.
You said it was a classmate.
Stories continuing like that to come in, including another one that just came in from Rachel Karras, an 18-year-old senior who's wrapping up jazz band practice. That often happens in the hours, minutes before school starts. Rachel was wrapping up jazz band practice when she and her bandmates heard what she described as 4 gunshots spaced apart. Karras told the Associated Press, "We all just jumped," she wrote. "My band teacher looked at us and yelled, 'Run.' So we ran." Karras and many others from the school ran out past the football field, the live pictures we've been showing you there, as people heard yelling, "Get out, get out." She said she heard additional shots as she was running out of the school. She didn't know how many additional shots as she ran. She didn't know how many. She said she was more concerned about getting home to her 3-year-old son. At that moment, she said, "I didn't care about anything except getting out of the school because I had to get home to be with my son." Another report just came in from Jasmine Augustine, an 18-year-old in Perry, who was at the high school shortly after everything happened Thursday morning. Jasmine, the 18-year-old, said she was dropping off a friend at the high school and his brother, who goes to the town's elementary school about a mile away. Jasmine said, "I was at the Casey's convenience store, like so many people, so many towns have around central Iowa. I was at Casey's and saw one car speed by. I thought it was just somebody getting pulled over," she said. Augustine said that when she was pulled over, when she pulled into the high school, someone told her there in the parking lot that there was an active shooter, and we hurried up and left. After that, she said there's just tons and tons and tons of cops who came to the Perry High School, said Augustine, whose sister attends the high school but wasn't near what happened. Jasmine and her dad picked up her sister from the armory just back behind the bus barn shortly thereafterward. More and more stories coming in of the scary situation, whether folks were inside the building when this happened 10 minutes before the bell rang for the first day after break, or whether they were outside in downtown. You couldn't miss the response, but you also couldn't miss the terror of what unfolded at that moment, but also the moments after, as people were trying to figure out what was going on, who was hit, if anyone, what's going on, and a lot of questions still to come out this morning.
It's difficult to put yourself in the shoes of those people because you can only imagine they don't know what the threat is exactly, how many people, they're hearing gunshots, but from where? And as you run for your life, you don't know what you are running from and into. So you can only try to grasp putting yourself in their shoes as they describe what they encountered this morning at Perry High School at 7:37. And this is the type of trauma that will continue to come out as people process what has happened. Parents have been notified that the school will be closed and is offering counseling Friday and Saturday.
The impact, as we said, has impacted schools around central Iowa. This is a live picture coming from the west side of the elementary school building. The Performing Arts building is there on the left side, that marquee on the left, and across the street back to the left is the football field, an area where community members, maybe your community has played the Blue Jays in sports. You've pulled up and you know this view, but you can also see in this live picture that yellow crime scene tape where now officers have blocked off the
Oh
area.
wow, they have the same name as us, the Blue Jays.
Of individuals, what happened when you were there, continue to come in, including one that Jody Long talked to a little while ago from a brother who was concerned about what was going on inside. Let's listen to his story from a couple of minutes ago.
I first woke up and I just saw all the sirens, everything, and then I got a call from my younger brother saying that there was a shooting at the school, and my father was just dropping them off right before it happened. So they pulled up and then saw the students running out, and so they just decided to just get out of there because obviously something wasn't right.
Yeah, Seth told me that they pulled up to the school approximately at 7:35. We know from police and investigators that the first call for help came in at 7:37. So, I mean, just moments, split seconds here in between your brothers being dropped off and this incident happening. But they're okay.
Oh yeah, they're completely fine. Just a little shook up, obviously. Everyone here is, small community is kind of hard not to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a small town. Of course, we know that the student body here is one that is also fairly small too. And Seth, you graduated here from the high school about 2 years ago. And Seth, you just paint a picture for us what the school community is like here. It's small and very close knit.
Yeah, very close knit. Everyone knows each other, so just something like this to happen is, very out of the blue. Mm-hmm. Very, just shocking.
So we do have more people and communities and entities as well as leaders reacting to what has happened at Perry High School this morning. A shooting with multiple victims, unclear the exact number, but absolute tragedy. Des Moines Public Schools says it's offering counselors and staff to its students or staff who need someone to talk to. The school says it has security presence throughout the district every second of every day.
And that's important from Des Moines Public Schools because, as you remember, there have been a couple incidents of school shootings in the Des Moines area in and around buildings here. So some of those students who went through that a couple of years ago, whether it be East High School outside the building or it starts right here downtown, this brings stuff back because it's a different situation in a different community. At the same time, some of those families who have been through that are turning on the news today and going, it's bringing it all back. And this situation of kids being scared about what's going on. We know that students around the country go through those active shooter drills, and so you are told what to do, but also that entire experience just elevates the reality of what can happen. And that's why so many school districts are addressing this with their parents around central Iowa, from Des Moines to West Des Moines to Woodward Granger. We've seen stuff from Fort Dodge, from all over these communities that are addressing it and just telling parents, we got you. We understand what you're feeling. We know safety is important, and that's why we're trying to deal with it and kind of trying to reassure them. It's just a tough day around central Iowa.
And people are being very careful about the information now being presented. Right. And that is why law enforcement, in that news conference with Sheriff Adam Infante from Dallas County, he said, please be patient. Mm-hmm. They want to do this the right way. They want to notify who needs to be notified first with these families before they start identifying the victims involved and people and so forth. And we will honor that here at KCCI. And we're going to be very careful about what we then relay to you because we understand this is bigger than just us in the news and the news cycle of the day. These are people. These are our neighbors. and this is their lives.
The impact is being felt throughout Perry, including folks at, say, DMAC in the Perry Center. They are closed for the day. They write that all of their staff and personnel are safe and accounted for about a mile or two away from the high school on the east side of town. DMAC is closer to the downtown area. But the DMAC cancellation of classes only affects the Perry Center. All the other DMAC campuses in Ankeny and West Des Moines and the urban campus, Boone, they are all open. It's just the Perry site that is closed. Any updates from DMAC, since they have a school presence there for the community college in the Perry area, that's going to be posted to the DMAC website. But we also have some new information from CBS News this morning.
This is critical information from CBS that we can now report to you. 2 law enforcement sources with knowledge say that the shooting suspect is dead. The suspect is described as being born in 2006. It is unclear if the suspect is deceased from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Multiple victims were shot. Conditions are unknown at this point. That was something the sheriff alluded to as well. They were still making sure they could get us an exact number, but it is still early. And people, as we know, were transported to the hospital here in Des Moines and are being treated. So their condition at this moment is unknown because it is so recent. This just happened this morning. 7:37 is when the first call for help went out.
We've continued to have reactions from around the state and around the country on folks weighing in on their thoughts and prayers and condolences and actions. And we know that people come at this from a lot of different perspectives. They can disagree on a lot of things, but they can also agree on the tragedy that we've seen today. And one of them includes Governor Kim Reynolds, who just posted on X recently. She writes, "Our hearts are broken by this senseless tragedy. Our prayers are with the students and teachers and families of the Perry community." The governor writes, "I have been in contact with law enforcement agencies and am continuing to monitor the situation. I'll be joining their press conference today." The last press conference happened a couple of hours ago with members of the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation and the Dallas County Sheriff's Office, as well as local
That's what I'm
agencies.
thinking.
We are
Miracle
waiting for that
Heart
one. We
is
don't have a
probably
specific
a
time.
senior.
We understand that it will be early afternoon. But right now, as you can see, the crime scene tape continues to be up there as investigators continue to show up there on the west side of Perry High School, where this all unfolded this morning at 7:37.
And we are staying with you. We are going to stay on the air and continue to bring you these live images of the scene where this shooting happened. We're going to stay at this desk and continue to provide more perspective and insight and information, because that is what we do in times like this. We are in this together. Our crews have been relaying some really powerful information and emotion from the Perry community. When tragedy strikes one of our own, we are Iowans. Iowans know how to come together. That is the fabric of rural communities. Perry is just a town of 7,800 people. It is an intimate community. We've heard time and again how close everyone is and everyone knows everyone. That's what witnesses have said. And so even in the school, it's a close school. There's only a few hundred kids who go to that high school. And you're seeing the middle school right now on your screen in this live view, this angle of that campus. We want to remind you that that is connected to the high school. So that is why you're
Oh
going
my
to see
goodness,
images
that
of the
makes
middle
it even
school on your
worse. It's
screen
one of those
as we continue
unified
to cover
schools.
this massive
Could have been
response
so
that is
bad.
still an ongoing investigation. The Division of Criminal Investigation is very much a part of this from the state. They are assisting with this, and several law enforcement agencies from around the Des Moines area also responded. West Des Moines, Clive, Urbandale, just to name a few, as well as Iowa State Patrol and Dallas County, certainly, because this is a northern part of Dallas County. And so that is the response that we've seen. That's why we are hearing from Dallas County Sheriff Adam Infante.
Seeing those doors kind of brings it back for me, because like so many people, we've walked through those doors at the school. I've been there covering stories of both triumph and tragedy. I remember 20 years ago during the war situation overseas, we had a soldier who died in the Perry community in that area. And there have been other cases where we have been there in that building covering funerals, talking about a community coming together and grieving. And it incorporates the entire community when something like that happens. When the whole community comes together, in the case I was in there, it was a community coming together to honor the life of a soldier who died in that area. But another thing I'm struck by is the longevity of the leadership in Perry. So many of the people in that community have been in their positions for a long time. They develop roots, they establish trust, whether it be high school administrators, community leaders at the police station. These are people who put down deep roots, who know and care about their communities so well. and as a result are so ingrained into the community. And so when something like this happens in a community that's the size of Perry, it happens in all communities, but especially in that size of a community that is big enough but not too big, and they're kind of that middle-sized community where people move there, they care about the community, they put their roots down, and it's some of the same people who were in that building during the soldier funeral and during the community. Trent Miner is somebody who we covered back 20 years ago, who was going through cancer situations, and the whole community rallied around his case. And as a result, after he passed away, the community gets together and honors his life. Those are the stories that come back to my mind of being in that building. So many people have walked into that building for a middle school basketball game or a high school basketball game, walking across the street to a ball game when maybe Perry was playing your community, and having an experience right on that street. And then to see these live pictures come onto your screen, knowing that the situations that we've heard in Texas and going on in Florida and going on in Sandy Hook, places like that in Colorado, all of those things are happening nationally. And then to put yourself into this situation where I've been in that hallway, I know what's going on, and I know what the situation is with that community that is so bonded together, cares about each other so much, and has been there for so long, going through the highs and lows of, you know, the White House just calling out their school district for having great schools, but then also the lows of what was happening 20 years ago. It's a tough situation this noon hour to know. We're going to have to go through that all again in the coming days as we look for the answers, as people start to recover, as we get to the bottom of what happened there. It's a tough situation in Perry.
It is a very tough situation. And you just said it. The National Blue Ribbon School Award was just awarded to Perry Elementary School. I remember being on the phone with administrators with the school district, could not wait to announce how exciting this was. They're like, you can't say it yet, but we're so excited. We're so proud of our educational system here at Perry Community School District. And that pride does not go away. We evolve together as communities and reflect and continue to move forward. The word resilience has come up in our live coverage of what has happened here today. That is something we do expect and have already starting to see. And people want to come in and help. That's another thing we are starting to see. So we have spoken on the phone live on the air with LifeServe Blood Center. Want to touch on that again. They say they're currently providing blood and blood products to Des Moines area hospitals in response to the shooting. It is the sole provider for blood to all hospitals in the area. That's how important it is. Anyone interested in donating in response to this situation can schedule an appointment online at lifeserve.info/schedule or walk into any LifeServe location. They just gave a bunch of blood. So now they need to replenish. Those donations are so needed right now if that is something you can do.
We've been on the air now for 3 hours, and we've been following the story for 4 since it first broke. We saw the helicopters leave Des Moines. We saw the helicopters land back in Des Moines at the hospital, where we know multiple people are being treated this noon hour. And we know that a lot of people are just looking for answers, and they continue to look for those answers. We've been following this story since it broke more than 4 hours ago, and we will continue to do that. All of the details from this story are on the KCCI website, being updated from our crews out in the field who've been there on the ground, watching everybody roll into town as fast as those emergency vehicles could get there, and now slowly leave. These pictures were some of the first we brought you around 8 o'clock, between 8 and 9 o'clock this morning. This coming from essentially the Armory side of the school. There, the Urbandale police officers were there, and West Des Moines police officers were there also. The response right away was dramatic. The number of officers and flashing lights that were there was dramatic. And now that we're getting toward the noon hour, folks are kind of trying to deal with what's next. We know of a prayer vigil coming up later tonight in Perry, and we'll have more details on that as we come along. But the ripples of this story have reached nationwide.
Absolutely. And nationwide attention now on Perry right here at home, as questions still remain to be answered. Law enforcement is working on that because of motive. They want to start piecing together the why. That is it's a very real part of processing a tragedy like this. And that is some of the stuff that is coming up. There's speculation certainly online, but we're going to continue to provide you information we feel and know is safe and the right thing to do. So we're going to continue to do that. You're still looking at video captured earlier this morning when our crews just got there. They raced to the scene, but certainly were passed by lines of law enforcement, and it was completely surrounded. In my time here at KCCI, I have never seen a law enforcement response on one area of that size.
It has been pretty dramatic. It is straight up top of the hour at noon. We're going to stop and kind of reset things, bring you all the headlines we know from the Perry area and Dallas County here at the top of the hour on KCCI 8 News. Now 3 hours into our coverage on the Perry situation that's unfolding.
KCCI 8 News starts right now with breaking news.
I just know he got grazed by a bullet. That's all I know. I just found out. I didn't know.
So they pulled up and then saw the students running out.
All right, everybody, so I'm
and so
gonna
they just decided to just get out of there because obviously something wasn't right.
go ahead and let this run so everybody can
His
watch it.
50-year-old
Keep
son,
updated.
Xander Shelley, was inside the school's hallway when he heard the gunshots and then fell to the ground.
It is absolutely a nightmare. This is absolutely horrible.
Officer first arrived within 7 minutes of that activation and located multiple gunshot victims.
We saw a family pull up, trying to get to their family members who were in that red building behind me.
It was absolutely horrifying. Like this, one of the worst moments of my entire life, but the best phone call I got was saying that they were okay.
There you go.
We have a team of reporters coming to you from Perry, where a school shooting happened this morning around 8 o'clock this morning before the first day of classes back to school after holiday break.
7:37 is when the first call for help went out, and then an immediate response. So our team has been in Perry covering the shooting at the high school. Here is what we know so far. According to CBS, 2 law enforcement sources with knowledge said that the shooting suspect is dead. The suspect is described as being born in 2006. It is unclear if the suspect is deceased from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Multiple victims were shot. Conditions are unknown at this point.
It is now 12:01, and Alyssa Gomez on our staff has been in Perry for hours, was our first reporter there on the scene. Alyssa, you had a chance to listen in to officers as they gave you what they know about 2 hours ago. What's the latest there in Perry, Alyssa?
That's right. Well, we got here at 8:30, guys, and speaking to that police presence, we had to pull over several times on our way here because just hordes of police, EMS, firefighters heading to the scene, pedal to the floor, getting here as fast as they can. Around 10 o'clock, we finally heard from Dallas County Sheriff Adam Infante. Here's what he had to say about the situation.
My name is Sheriff Adam Infante, INFANTE. I'm the sheriff here in Dallas County. I'm joined by our state, local, and federal partners here at the Perry High School. This morning at approximately 7:37 a.m., we had a Sears radio activation at the high school, which indicated an active shooter situation. An officer first arrived within 7 minutes of that activation and located multiple gunshot victims. We're still unclear of exactly how many are injured or what the extent of those are, but we're working on that right now. There is no further danger to the public. The community is safe. We're just now working backwards, trying to figure out everything that happened and make notifications. There'll be another update later on today. It's still very early. This happened at approximately 7:37 this morning. School didn't start yet, luckily. So there was very few students and faculty in the building, which I think contributed to a good outcome in that sense. But we'll have more information later on this afternoon. We will not be releasing any more information in the meantime. So please be patient with us so that we can talk with these victims and their families and try and figure out what happened. We won't be answering any questions today either for right now. We'll let you know later on this afternoon, what time we'll be meeting back with you again, and we hope to provide more detail then.
Just to be clear, you don't have a number of people who were injured?
We're still working on that.
Have you identified the shooter?
Yes.
What's their current status? Are they alive?
We'll get to that later on this afternoon. I can't confirm that right now. No, not right now.
Reunification center for families and students right now?
Great point. The reunification center has already been established. And that most of those, I think all the kids have been reunified already. So we're good in that area. Thank you.
Are there any faculty members that were hurt?
I can't answer that question yet.
Have you made any applications or arrests?
Can't answer that question yet either.
We'll take no further questions at this time. We'll see you this afternoon.
Sorry, just want to make sure.
I will let you know. We don't know.
Iowa Department of Public Safety will push out a message as far as location and time of the next press conference.
Okay.
So if you go to the Iowa Department of Public Safety website, it'll be posted there probably shortly after noon. I'm sorry. There's nothing more that we're going to be able to answer right now. Thank you.
And Alex, Eric, we are still waiting on those details. But in the meantime, we've talked to some of the community members, a woman that lives right directly across from the school and her niece. They're already working to organize vigils, organize blood drives, organize food to get to the families that have been impacted by this. This is a tragic and terrible thing that's happened today. But if there's one thing that's for sure, it's not going to tear this community apart.
Our hearts are heavy, and we're hearing that from parents, community members, and people all around the state racing to help support this community in this time and during this tragedy.
But we're also hearing the response, the ripple effect of how this has impacted folks around Central Iowa, including at hospitals. KCCI's Marcus McIntosh has been at Unity Point Hospital in downtown Des Moines for hours. And Marcus, you've seen quite a few folks roll in there.
Yes, Eric, we've seen quite a few people roll in. We've been told and confirmed by Unity Point Health, Iowa Methodist Medical Center, that 3 of the victims from the Perry shooting are here at this hospital right now. I'm going to get out of the way because we're standing right across from the emergency room, and there was a flurry of activity early where there were Des Moines police cars. There was a barricade up, and there was security out here because it was on lockdown because of the situation. Now, the whole hospital wasn't in lockdown, just the emergency room area was in lockdown because they wanted to know who was coming and who was going. Earlier, we saw a group of people that are connected to Perry in some way because they had somber looks on their faces, and at least one person had a sweatshirt with a Perry Blue Jay on the front. I can't confirm who they are exactly. They're either, connected to the school in some way, parents, administrators, or possibly even relatives, family of the victim. And so they came here about an hour or so ago with very somber looks on their faces as they walked in. A lot has been happening here, but as you can see, that it has been cleared, and we've been told that the lockdown has ended. We've also been told that there's been a flurry of activity here because inside the ER, so that's why we saw at least one person taken from an ambulance, not connected to this situation, but taken from an ambulance outside the ambulance bay and wheeled in. So there's a lot of activity going inside. And a lot of people right now might be asking themselves, how can they help? How can they be of service here? They want to help their neighbors, their friends who were injured in this tragedy. And one way to help is by donating blood. We spoke with Blood Serve Iowa to find out how people can help. And here's what we were told.
As of this morning already, our blood center on East Locust in Des Moines received phone calls from a couple of our area hospitals here in Des Moines, as well as the hospitals most close in proximity to Perry. And due to the unfortunate incident that happened this morning, we have been sending additional blood products to the locations that are treating victims from this morning's shooting. And I think, our hearts are with the community of Perry. They are one of our partners in the community and in making sure that we have a safe and stable blood supply. And so we just hope, during this unfortunate time in that town, that we can in turn support them and be here for them. And this is just one way that LifeServe is doing that, is obviously making sure that the blood is on the shelf in the facilities that are treating the patients. But in order for us to be able to do that, we have to have a safe and stable blood supply all the time.
Because, Shay, as you mentioned there, talking about a little bit about the network that you have. You have blood product. The hospitals have blood products on their shelves. At the same time, they don't know how much they have. So when this unfolds, essentially, you're reaching out the blood to them saying, we've got it if you need it, but then it needs to be replenished on the backside. Is that right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we ask people all the time to donate blood so that in times like this, we have it available. I mean, honestly, every single day there are hospitals in the 161 there are patients in the 161 hospitals that we serve that need blood products, and then we can't predict on these unfortunate situations and circumstances, and so that need becomes even greater. So if people are looking for a way to support the neighbors and the community of Perry, giving blood is just one of many ways that you can do that. And we have donor centers all across Iowa that are open today, and you can come out and do that. If you don't want to wait in line, you can schedule an appointment. It may not be today, but it will still be needed tomorrow and in the days in the future.
This call to action is important. So when you ask for this big call out for people to come and donate, is there anything else someone should know or think about before they go and donate blood?
We always encourage them to make sure that they are healthy, because obviously the people that are going to be receiving these life-saving units are not in a position where they are well. So we need our donors to be healthy. If you've never donated blood before, we would encourage you to go onto our website, lifeservebloodcenter.org. There's quite a bit of information there that can kind of just help you along and help you understand what the process looks like, what the requirements to donate are. When you come into our donor centers, we're obviously going to need to have an ID. So if you've not donated with us before and you don't have a blood donor card, even a driver's license is fine. And we're just going to ask you some questions, make sure you're healthy and able to donate. The process to actually donate blood varies based on the type of donation you're giving. And then once you're done donating, we ask that you stay with us for a few minutes after, have some refreshments, and make sure you're feeling well before you go on your way.
Again, that's LifeServe Blood Center. Now, just to recap, here at Iowa Methodist Unity Point Medical Center, the emergency room, 3 people have been brought here by ground ambulance from the situation up in Perry. And just want to make one more thing clear. We've been mentioning most of the morning during continuous coverage that Perry Schools was given a blue ribbon designation. Well, I was there with a photographer less than a month ago, probably late last year, when the United States Secretary of Education was in there celebrating that school, talking to teachers and administrators. So I've walked those halls, and I can only imagine what people have walked those halls are thinking right now. We're live in Des Moines. I'm Marcus McIntosh. Let's go back to the studio to Eric and Alex.
It's hitting home for a lot of people, Marcus, and we appreciate your story talking about the impact that is having around Central Iowa.
It's so important as we process what is happening and we try to move forward as a community, especially Perry as it moves forward as a community. And that's now why I want to go to Laura Terrell. She's at the First United Methodist Church. How are they providing support there in Perry, Laura?
Yes, Alex, as you said, we are at the First United Methodist Church in Perry. This is a safe refuge here for students and parents who are shaken and just don't know where to go. The pastors here tell us they want anyone to come to this church who needs a place to go, who needs someone to hug, who needs someone to talk to. I was inside the sanctuary, multiple students in there who were in the building when the shots were fired. There's a 7th grader, a 12-year-old in the church here who heard 3 shots and ran. She said she ran for her life to the armory and hid. We talked with her mother, who said she got that phone call from her daughter at 7:37. If you remember, 7:37 is when law enforcement said the first call came in. Her mom's name is Amber Ross. Take a listen to what she had to say.
My daughter called me. It's being reported now that the first call for first responders was 7:37. And I looked back on my phone and I got a call exactly at 7:37. She told me she'd heard 3 gunshots and ran out the door to go to the armory, to where their safe space is when they're evacuated.
How old you?
She's 12.
She was inside the building.
She was in the building. So the middle school and the high school are connected by a hallway where the cafeterias are. And the shooter was in the high school cafeteria in that hallway. And so she was in that hallway leaving. So it could have been her.
Oh my goodness.
As a mom, you never want to get that call.
I thought she was like exaggerating. I was like, no way, like that couldn't happen. Like you guys just heard something and then nope, that's what she heard, and it could have been her. She heard 3 gunshots that could have been pointed at in her direction.
What did she do next? Where did she hide?
She went to the armory. So it's a military base, right? So it's like the military base here in Perry, and they're told to evacuate to So she was in that parking lot when everything was happening. Luckily, she was far enough away that she was able to get out.
And then how did you get to her? And what was that like when you saw her safe?
I drove up like I was picking her up from school, like any normal day. I mean, obviously the traffic was insane, and there were cops coming in, flooding from both directions, and there was so many of them. Like, it's crazy how many cops were there.
How's your daughter doing now?
She's shaken up. She's better now than she was when I picked her up. She was really scared and crying and worried about all her friends, but she's been able to contact the majority of them, and obviously those that don't have cell phones or whatever, she'll be able to figure out at a later time, Monday.
So glad she's okay.
Me too.
Where does the community go from here?
We're a pretty tight-knit community. I haven't even been here that long, and I am now the scoutmaster for the girls BSA, and we always do anything we can to help out. And the churches, all of them help. The library, they have therapists set up. The schools also have things set up for the kids to go to over the weekend. So
what do you want to say to other parents out there today struggling, kids struggling with all this?
Hug your babies. My husband left at 6 o'clock this morning, and she jumped in the shower right after he left, and he's like, that could have been the last time I saw her. And it's just, it's hard. It hits you.
You can feel and hear the raw emotion in that interview. A mother who got that phone call from her daughter at 7:37. Fortunately, her daughter is okay today, but it could have gone so many other ways. A lot of emotion inside this church here at First United Methodist Church, where we are in Perry. Again, the pastors want anyone to come here who needs a place to go. There's several pastors, 3 or 4 of them inside. They're ordering pizzas, they're ordering food. They're telling students, parents, whoever, to come here as a place that is safe, as a place to pray, and as a place to be together. Inside is also a junior at the high school, a young man who missed his bus today. His bus was late, and he said that had his bus not been late, he would have got to school at 7:30. The shots started ringing out again around 7:37, and so he was late to school, didn't even make it there because of the bus situation. And as I was talking to him, he was incredibly tearful about the fact that he would have been in that cafeteria, he would have been in that school, in that building when this all happened. He's very worried about all of his friends and teachers and everyone else, and he, you can tell, is processing this very traumatic situation. We'll hear from him in just a little bit, but for now, live in Perry at the First United Methodist Church here, Laura Terrell, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader. Back to you guys.
So many powerful stories there, Laura. Thank you for that one. We've heard of an 18-year-old senior who was wrapping up jazz band practice when she heard what she saw was 4 gunshots spaced apart. She said, my band teacher looked at us and told us, run. So we ran. Stories like that impacting the people in town. But also, there's the emergency response that unfolded this morning.
We saw it. It was massive. Law enforcement from all around the metro making their way to Perry, which is northwest of West Des Moines. West Des Moines there this morning, along with Clive, Urbandale. We have Todd Magel in to talk about sort of the timeline of this and that massive law enforcement response, which was so tense in those moments.
It was, Alex and Eric. The dispatch recordings that you're going to hear show a calm, professional, but clearly a very concerned law enforcement effort to deal with this school shooting. The emergency radio traffic began shortly after 7:30, as we mentioned, around 7:37 this morning. Now, what you will hear next is a combination of Dallas County Sheriff's dispatchers, deputies, and EMS personnel as that first report went out.
All units, Dallas County. We've got an active Sears activation at Perry High School. Active Sears activation at Perry High School. It's going to be in reference to a possible gunshots at Perry High School.
Swan Direct, you have access to the cameras?
We're getting pulled up now. Somebody down in the hallway. Copy. We see something on the west hallway, west hallway. What channel am I switching to? There's blood.
We have a male subject down in the hallway. Appears to be self-inflicted gunshot wound. Unsure on other victims. Now, a subject that's down is deceased.
Copy. Subject down, deceased. Location?
We are outside of room 308.
I need multiple ambulances, so we're going to need both other EMS units headed that way. Do we have a number of victims? Or an estimated number of victims? Copy. We're getting multiple reports. Dallas 593. Let's go ahead and put both the helicopters en route. Also, let's get Perry Fire there so that we can have landing zones and we can start triage.
We've got 2 patients in our ambulance. Can you reserve a helicopter for me?
How many patients do we have on scene?
Unknown at this time. We have 2 in our truck. Reports of multiple inside.
Dallas, has Polk County been advised to advise all the hospitals of a possible mass casualty incident? Copy, we're calling them now.
The middle school has been cleared. Officers are doing a secondary sweep.
That's why we've got triage area currently. He's advising no other incoming units need to come into the school right now.
I am in command of EMS transport. We believe that we have our most critical out.
Now, that's just the arc of sort of what happened. The entire exchange took about an hour. We've edited that down. And what I think you can take away from that, it seems clear that at least 2 people, as we've been reporting, were injured with multiple gunshot wounds. That came in some of that dispatch dialogue. And that it appears, based on that dialogue, that the shooter did die in a school hallway. Alex, and
that's how it unfolded this morning. A lot of details there to figure out once the investigation gets going, but we've heard from a lot of people nationwide talking about what's happened with Perry, including our Iowa Governor, Kim Reynolds, who's issued a statement on social media.
Yeah, she posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, "Our hearts are broken by this senseless tragedy. Our prayers are with the students, teachers, and families of the Perry community. I have been in contact with law enforcement agencies and am continuing to monitor the situation. I will be joining their press conference today."
We know the White House is monitoring what's going on. We've heard from Senator Grassley. Now let's hear from Senator Joni Ernst from Iowa, posting on X. "My team is in touch with officials in Dallas County about the heartbreaking situation in Perry High School." She writes, "Join us in praying for the safety and recovery of those involved. Thank you to all the law enforcement for their swift response."
And we have more reporters on the scene near Perry High School. Jody Long has spoken to parents with students who were hurt in this incident. We go to her now. Jody.
Hi, Alex. The moment I arrived on scene, stationed right outside of the high school area, a man named Kevin Shelley came up to me and showed me his phone. He said my son was inside at the time of the shooting. He was shot in the back and in his arm. He showed me pictures of his son's injuries. His son's name is Xander Shelley. He's 15. He's a sophomore. He had just walked inside the school. He was inside the hallway when he said that he was shot in the back and in the arm. That's when he ran into a nearby classroom to seek shelter and to stay out of harm's way. And while he was sheltered and hunkered down inside that classroom, Alex, that's when he sent a text message to his dad saying, "Dad, there's been a shooting at school." His father then raced around to get to the school and to make contact with him. The good news is that Xander is safe. His injuries are not life-threatening. He didn't even go to the hospital. He went home with his dad, but told his dad, "Dad, I was scared to death in that moment." And his father clearly shaken up when he was telling me about what his son had encountered inside of Perry High School this morning. But he is so glad that he is reunited with his son and that things aren't any too worse for their family. He is considered one of the lucky ones. We've also had a chance to talk with other folks here in Perry. Bo Bowman has had a chance to see and hear from other people here.
Right. Parents of even staff members drove here from wherever they were right before this happened. One is the mother of a school counselor here at Perry, and she said she just got a text from her daughter on her way into work and said, "Mom, I'm safe." And that obviously sent her mind into a million different directions and responded with why. And she told her she got the one-word text message back that said shooting. And that's when the mother turned around and drove back to Perry so that she could be with her daughter. There is a place for reunions with family members and parents of students and staff members at the McCreary Center, and that's where we're hearing a lot of people going to. And there's a lot of stories similar to these, just lots of raw emotion. We're only hours just after this happened, so like this emotion is still very raw for the people going through this in the city of Perry. That is just beside themselves by this tragedy. Lots of law enforcement here starting to move in a little bit closer to the school. We've been allowed to get a little closer ourselves, but we're going to be on scene here today throughout the afternoon for the upcoming presser that's supposed to be happening. They haven't released a time or date yet, but once they do that, we will bring that more information as we get it from law enforcement. But for now, we're here in Perry. Back to you guys in the studio.
Bo and Jody, thank you for sharing that witness perspective. That is so important as we piece together information in the wake of tragedy. We also want to note that Perry will not have school tomorrow, and they are providing counseling services tomorrow and Saturday. They'll go throughout the day for anyone in the community who needs to talk about and needs help processing what happened there today.
Speaking of counseling, we just saw a story from the high school senior Ava Augustus, who said that she was in a counselor's office there at Perry waiting for her appointment to arrive when she heard 3 shots. She and other people barricaded the door at Perry High School, preparing to throw things if necessary, with a window being too small for an escape. And then she said, we hear, he's down, you can go out. And I run out, she says, and you just see glass everywhere, blood on the floor. I get to my car, and they're taking a girl out of the auditorium who had been shot in the leg. So many families dealing with so much and trying to decompress. Now, this morning when this all started, we saw clouds over Perry, but we have to address the weather because John Rivas is in taking a look at the next couple of days. We need to figure out what's going on both today and down the road. John, what's going to unfold in the forecast?
Yeah, Eric and Alex, we're looking at right now, like you said, clouds over a lot of the state right now. A little bit of clearing now in Des Moines. A lot of the more clearing was present further south, like Lamoni and off to the east just a bit throughout the morning. A lot of clouds moving in, so that's not going to be a lot of sun for us to enjoy. As temperatures are only rebounding to around the low 30s right now, we're not going to really see those climbing much either. As the clouds stay with us, temperatures only in the mid to low 30s for this afternoon. And then we will be declining those temperatures as we head into this evening and overnight, but not very far because the clouds will be staying over us, acting like a blanket overnight tonight. Now let's talk about the 2 chances. This is the start of next week of some rain, from snowfall. And this is going to be the southerly track. So this is right now, it's so far out, we still can't quite nail down exactly where this area of low pressure is going to be passing through. So if it is more southerly track, which it's starting to agree that this is going to be the more likely of the 2, we're going to be looking at a chance for some lighter accumulations. Winds not as strong with this track. However, if things do change, which they absolutely still can, it's still a lot of time between now and then, this is going to be a heavier snow event for the state, stronger winds, colder temperatures. So there's still a lot of time between now, and this is more the Monday, Tuesday setup. So that's what we're going to be keeping an eye on as we go through this next day, and also in the weekend. We're going to have more details on accumulations as we go in the next 48 hours. But for Friday, there is a chance for some isolated snow. It's going to be a light chance, very light accumulations, most likely just a dusting for where it is going to be snowing. Then for Saturday, that's going to be the better chance for a dusting to around ½ inch possible at most. Like I said, not the major event. That's going to be waiting until we start next week. On Monday and Tuesday, temperatures still going to be staying just right around where they are right now, mid-30s, all the way until we get to Tuesday and middle part of next week. That's when the temperatures will be dipping after this system. But we are keeping an eye on Monday and Tuesday next week as this area of low pressure approaches.
That, John. We have now been on the air for 4 hours with nonstop coverage of what's been unfolding in Perry. Still much more to come the rest of the day here in central Iowa as people come to grips with it. Law enforcement say that there will be a briefing with additional information coming up sometime later today. We don't know exactly when that is, but Governor Reynolds said she will be there and will be a part of that, so we will hear from her then.
And KCCI will have live coverage of it whenever that is. There is also a prayer vigil planned tonight in Perry. It's at Crossroads Church at 7 o'clock. KCCI will be there as well.
Over the last 4 hours, we have seen the situation unfold in Perry, and we've seen the response from Central Iowans just looking for answers on this day when there aren't very many. We will continue to follow that here on KCCI as the community of Perry and Dallas County continue to come to grips with what's happened over the last 5 hours.
Heavy hearts as we process this. We want to continue to give you as much information as we can. So please stay tuned to KCCI, kcci.com, and our free KCCI app. We are strong, we are resilient, and we are Iowans in this together moving forward.
All right, everybody, we're going to end the stream here for now, and I will update you guys when something else comes out. Thanks for joining us. Yes, I saw that with the 14-year-old brother. All right. Have a good day.